Nii, tere hommikust. Aeg on sealmaal, et saame alustada oma tänase geograafiliste tähiste infopäevaga. Ja tänane päev on pühendatud nii põllumajandusliku päritolu geograafiliste tähiste skeemi tutvustamisele kui ka käsitööndusliku ja tööstusliku geograafiliste tähiste süsteemi tutvustamisele, mis nüüd liigub Euroopa Liidu tasandil regulatsiooni alla. Minu nimi on Kerli Nõges ja mina olen Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeeriumis toidumüügi edendamise valdkonna juht. Ja muu hulgas kuuluvad minu vastutusvaldkonda geograafilised tähised. Ja mis need geograafilised tähised siis on? Geograafilised tähised on märk ja kinnitus sellest, et tegemist on tootega, millel on oma päritolu koha looduslikest ja inimteguritest tulenevalt omadused, eritunnused või maine. Ja lühidalt öeldes tegemist on kollektiivse intellektuaalomandi õigusega, mille eesmärk eelkõige on kaitsta just nimelt nende toodete tootjate majanduslikke huvisid. Ja liikudes nüüd tänase päevakava juurde, et meie päeva esimene plokk on pühendatud põllumajandusliku päritolu geograafilistele tähistele ja teine plokk pärast lõunapausi on pühendatud käsitöönduslikele ja tööstuslikele geograafilistele tähistele ja nende skeemi tutvustamisele. Meie tänane infopäev on korraldatud Euroopa Komisjoni, EUIPO ehk Euroopa Intellektuaalameti ning Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeeriumi ja Patendiameti koostöös. Ja meie eesmärk täna on siin eelkõige tõsta ettevõtjate teadlikkust geograafiliste tähiste süsteemi võimalustest. Ja enne veel, kui liigume konkreetselt päevakava ja ettekannete juurde, on mul paar sellist korralduslikku teadaannet. Esimene neist on selline, et meie tänast infopäeva salvestatakse, mis tähendab seda, et on võimalik seda hiljem järele vaadata ja need salvestused pannakse üles Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeeriumi ja Patendiameti veebilehtedele. Meie ingliskeelseid ettekandeid on tänase päeva jooksul saalis olijatel võimalik kuulata tõlgi vahendusel, et selleks otstarbeks on saali tagumises otsas ka kõrvaklapid olemas. Tualettruumid asuvad siit, kui uksest välja minna, siis on kohviku kõrval selline väike koridor, et selles otsas, selline oluline teadaanne tänaseks päevaks. Sellepärast, et kõige olulisem info on see, et sellest piirkonnast siin ukse taga, mis on turnikee väravate taga, et sellest ilma meie korraldajate kaasabita ei saa sisse ega välja liikuda, nii et kui on soovi liikuda, siis tuleb pöörduda siin Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeeriumi esindajate poole, oleks siis selleks mina või siis minu kolleeg Helena, kes praegu lehvitab teile ja teeb hiljem ka ettekande. Et ühesõnaga meie kaasabil on võimalik siis siit sisse välja liikuda. Ja ega siis midagi, et nüüd on siis oleme sealmaal, et ma annaksin esimeseks tervitussõnaks sõna meie Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeeriumi peamajanduse asekantsler Madis Pärtelile, kelle vastutusvaldkonda põllumajanduslikud geograafilised tähised kuuluvad. Madis, palun.
Aitäh, Kerli, ja tere hommikust kõigile. Mul on väga hea meel näha nii palju huvilisi, kes geograafiliste tähiste vastu siis tunnevad seda maailma, tunnevad selle asja vastu huvi. Ja aitäh Kerlile ja Helenale üldse selle konverentsi korraldamise eest. Sest tegelikult ministeeriumina on meie üks põhimisi ülesandeid Eesti toidukultuuri, toidutootjate ja üldse toidutootmise edendamine. Ja geograafilised tähised tegelikult mahuvad see pilti ülihästi. Kahjuks muidugi peab nentima, et Eesti ei ole veel siiamaani väga aktiivselt erinevaid geograafilisi tähisi taodelnud. Küll aga ma tean, et see üks hetk muutub, et see saab osa meie igapäevasest toidutootmisest ja meie normaalsest toidusüsteemist, et meil on neid tähiseid. Et tegelikult see tähiste maailm on ju pika ajalooga ja tal on mitu sellist mõõdet. Et üks on kindlasti tootja mõõde, ehk siis, et tootjad saavad oma traditsioonilisele, kvaliteetsele, autentsele tootele märgi peale, mis annab neile ka intellektuaalomandi kaitse ja mis eristab neid turul. Et selles mõttes on tal kindlasti nagu nii-öelda positiivseid pooli. Lisaks on võimalik kindlasti ka hinnas selles mõttes nagu positiivseid arenguid näha ja need ettevõtted, kes vaatavad ekspordi suunal, siis kahtlemata see on üks hea võimalus ka teistel turgudel siis silma paista. Ja tarbija vaates on muidugi väga selge, et poes on see valik väga kirju. Ja mõnes mõttes, kui ma ütlesin küll, et Eestis on vähe neid geograafilisi tähisi, siis tegelikult poes olles vaatab meil vastu väga palju geograafilisi tähisi. Sellepärast, et mujal Euroopas on see palju rohkem levinud ja selles kaubandusketis, kus te poes käite, siis tegelikult väga paljud tooted on märgitud geograafilisi tähistega. Et see tasakaal on küll Lõuna-Euroopa poole kaldu, veinid, juustud, Grana Padano, Parmigiano Reggiano, kõik sellised nii-öelda väga tuntud nimed, et nendel on ju kõik tegelikult sellised tähised peal, et mis kaitsevad neid. Et selles mõttes tarbijal on kindlasti siin võita, sellepärast ka nemad saavad siis aru, et kus see toode toodetud on, mis toorenes, mis viisil ja neil tekib usaldus selle toote vastu. Muidugi nad oleme valmis ka rohkem nagu välja käima selle eest, aga samas nad saavad vastu ka võib-olla rohkem. Nii et selles mõttes nii tootja kui tarbija poole on kindlasti seal palju positiivseid külgi, mida peab arvestama. Tootja vaates muidugi on oluline ka see, et kui me kasutame oma tootes mingit muud geograafilise tähisega toodet, et seda peab ka märgistama ja kõik sellised märgistamisega seotud reeglid, ma kujutan ette, et tänasest päevast tulevad ka lauale ja neid tutvustatakse, et tõsta lihtsalt teadlikkust. Et ma arvan, et see on ka oluline selle juures. Lisaks, kui üldse vaadata geograafilisi tähisi, siis nagu ma mainisin, see on pika ajalooga süsteem. Juba 1970-ndatel Euroopa Liidus loodi esialgu just veinidele, jookidele ja hiljem, mõnikümmend aastat hiljem siis laienes see ka põllumajandustoodetele. Ja tänaseks oleme tõesti jõudnud olukorda, kus need on üle 3000 Euroopas, Eestis tervelt 2, me jõudsime mitmusesse mõni aasta tagasi ja oleme seal selles nimekirjas küll nagu tagapool, aga vähemalt meil on siis potentsiaali tõusta. Ja ma tean tegelikult, et täna on mitmed ettevõtjad, kes on juba huvitatud sellest, et nad saaksid oma toodetele geograafilisi tähisi, nii et see protsess vaikselt läheb käima. Meie kui ministeeriumi huvi väga selgelt on, et see protsess liiguks veel kiiremini, oleme igal juhul avatud, sellepärast ka tänase konverents, sellepärast meie toimetamised viimasel aastal on väga palju aktiviseerunud, et me leiaks rohkem neid tootjaid, kes siis tuleks oma toodet geograafilise tähisega märkima. Ja kindlasti Kerli ja Helena poolt siin päeval ja ka üldse edaspidi suur valmisolek teiega rääkida, teile infot jagada ja teid aidata, kui selle protsessi ette võtate. Ja nagu Kerli mainis, siis esimene pool on toidu pool, teine pool siis käsitöönduslik ja tööstuslik, ehk siis need 2 suunda, mis nüüd tulevad juurde, geograafilise tähiste juurde, nii et selles mõttes meil on kindlasti siis see nii-öelda sektor laiem, kes võiks siis taodelda seda geograafilist tähist. Ja et me ainult teoreetiliseks täna ei jää, siis tegelikult on ju lõunalaual ka meil geograafiline tähis, mis on Eestis siis nii-öelda külge saanud oma märgi. Mitte küll Eesti viin, et see on muudes seltskondades sõira saate proovida, aga siiski. Igal juhul mina soovin teile head konverentsi, head kuulamist ja kindlasti aktiivset osavõttu. Kasutage võimalust pauside ajal, aga ka ettekannete lõpus küsida, uurida, sest see maailm on keerukas, siia on vaja sisse sukelduda, aga ma olen täiesti kindel, et te olete siin väga heades kätes ja teid aidatakse. Aitäh!
Suur tänu, Madis. Et Ja nüüd saame edasi liikuda oma esimese ettekandega. Et lepime kokku, et küsimusi on võimalik esitada pärast ettekande lõppu. Meil on olemas selleks ka mikrofon, et kui keegi soovib küsimusi esitada, siis palun tõstame käe, et toome mikrofoni. Ja meie esimene ettekandja on Euroopa Komisjoni esindaja, kuna geograafiliste tähiste näol on tegemist Euroopa Liidu kvaliteedikavadega. Ja nagu Madis mainis, siis juba 70-ndatest on loodud esimene selline veinide geograafilise tähise kaitsesüsteem Euroopa Liidu tasandil, millele hiljem on lisandunud piiritusjoogid ja põllumajandusliku päritolu toidutoodete kaitse. Ja palun siia Euroopa Komisjoni põllumajanduse ja maaelu arengu peadirektoraadist Katarina Baratova, kes annab meile ülevaate, kuidas Euroopa Komisjon geograafiliste tähiste süsteemi haldab ja millised on peamised uuendused selle reformi osas, mis tehti geograafiliste tähistesse eelmisel aastal. Et Katarina, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the kind welcome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome also from me to this very interesting conference today on geographical indications. I would like to thank very much to the colleagues at the Ministry of Agriculture who put a lot of effort and work into organizing this conference. And I'm also very happy to see so many people here who are potentially interested in geographical indication schemes, because as we could have already heard in the first speech of Mr. Partel, Estonia has now only 2 geographical indications, but we also believe in Brussels that there is a potential for more, and hopefully there will be also the interest. My role today is to give you a bit more information about how the European system for geographical indications for agricultural products, foodstuffs, wines and spirit drinks work. Why does the European Union protect this geographical indication? Why do we place so much importance on this system? And why we also continue to invest efforts in improving it? First of all, let me start by a short explanation of what is a geographical indication. What the European Union protects as a geographical indication is actually a name of the product that comes from a very specific region or a town or city or sometimes even the whole country. And this product has some very specific qualities or characteristics that are closely connected to this place of origin. Let me give you a very famous example from Italy, which I believe that everyone is familiar with. Prosciutto di Parma. It is a ham that is produced in the region of Parma in Italy. It is the product that has been produced in a very specific ways for decades, already maybe centuries. And this product has a very close connection to the region where it comes from, because the taste and also the texture of the product are closely linked to the climate and environment and the way of production in the region. The local farmers use a local type of breed of the pigs. These pigs are bred in a certain specific way according to the well-defined standards, and they are only using the feed that comes from the region of Parma. Then, when the ham is being produced, it is cured in a specific way, also because of the specific nature, climate, air, and very importantly, there are specific air currents that gives the ham its very specific taste. So clearly, these conditions cannot really be replicated elsewhere in the Europe or in the world. This is why it is very important that the name of Prosciutto di Parma is protected, and by this way we ensure that only producers that are located in this region can use this name and protect and produce their product, and their product is being protected in the whole territory of the European Union, but also in many other countries around the world. So it is clear that by giving this protection to the names, we ensure that the production is kept in the regions, and all the economic activity that is happening in the region cannot be delocalized. This is why the European Union system for geographical indications is important, because it allows, and it is also our most important objective, to protect the local value that is created all around Europe at the global level. And as it was already mentioned, this protection of the names is possible because geographical indications are type of an intellectual property rights. Well, I believe that you have some kind of familiarity with the geographical indications, maybe not from Estonia, but as it was mentioned, when you go to the shop, there are actually many products from all over the Europe on which you can see the sign of the European Union that we use for labeling of these geographical indications. You probably know these two signs, I hope you know them, and each of them represent the specific type of geographical indication, because in the EU we have two types. We have protected designation of origin, and we have protected geographical indication, or short version geographical indication, which is specific for the spirit drink sector. Now, what's the difference? There is very often a lot of debate and questions, which one is better, if one of them is actually better or not. Well, what is very important is that the level of the protection is the same, whether you have a protected designation of origin as a producer or whether you have a protected geographical indication. But what is different is the link of the product with the place of origin, because protected designation of origin has a stronger link with its place of production, since all the production steps must take place in the specific region, and also all the raw materials that are used for the production of these products must come from the region. This is clearly the example of Prosciutto di Parma. Then, in case of protected geographical indication, the conditions are a bit more relaxed, let's put it this way, because there is only a condition that at least one step of production must take place inside of the geographical area, and the raw materials can come from elsewhere. So it means that you can also use raw materials coming from different regions of the country, but also from different places around the EU. It was already mentioned that the system has been in place for some time. Since 1992, we have a comprehensive European Union system, because since 1992 we really have the system that includes all kinds of agricultural products. But as you can see, the system was developed gradually, and it started with the protection of wines, then we continued with spirits. But even before 1970s, there were some countries around Europe, such as Italy or France, that had in place the national system of protection of these products. And this maybe also explains a bit why these countries today have so many of these products, and why also the consumers are more familiar with these products, and why there is also interest from producers. Now, over the years, we also reformed on several occasions this system of geographical indications. The last such reform happened last year, and the objective of this reform was to simplify some conditions and also to make the system more effective. And hopefully, we hope that over the time, this will increase the interest of producers in joining the scheme. But the objective of the scheme has remained the same over the years, and it has always been to protect the origin of the products, ensure the authenticity of the products on the market, provide consumers the assurance about the origin of the products that they are buying, and also support producers around the European Union. Now, if you are interested in the concrete numbers, in this slide you can see the latest statistics. We are getting very close to the number 3,700. If you are looking for Estonia, I don't know if it works. It's at the very end. As it was mentioned, you have only 2 products, and you are indeed still the country with the smallest number of geographical indications. You can also see that we have some multi-country geographical indications. This is the case when there is a product that has a shared history in many countries, or that is being produced in many countries. So there is also this possibility that the producers from several countries can submit the joint application. And we have also several products coming from third countries. This is because even the producers from outside of the European Union are interested in protecting their products in the countries of the EU, since they are exporting their products to many countries around the EU. But why do geographical indications matter? The system as a whole is very important for the European economy, because these 3,679 products also produce important economic value. Based on the data that we have, we see that the total sales value is estimated to be around 75 billion euros. And although there are many products that are of local importance and that are sold mostly inside of the regions or inside of the country, at the same time there are also many products that are exported. So geographical indications also create the important share of exports. They represent 17% of the exports of the European Union in the sector of food and drinks. And since they are exported a lot, it is also in the interest of the European Commission to ensure the protection for these most famous and most exported products at the international level. And this is why when the European Union concludes any kind of trade agreement, we always care that the geographical indications are part of these agreements. We always include the list of geographical indications. For example, the European Union has a trade agreement. It's actually a very specific trade agreement because it's solely focused on geographical indications with China. And in this agreement, we protect 100 European geographical indications on the Chinese market. And the agreement was signed in 2020, but after that, we are now also working in extending this list by another 175 products coming from the agricultural sectors that are geographical indication, because this is very important for those producers who are exporting their products to China. And we all know that China is really the country where you can find a lot of imitations for different kinds of products, and unfortunately this often also includes the food. But first and foremost, the geographical indications are also, beyond their economic value, seen as important element and important instrument for the local development. As it was already mentioned, they are a type of intellectual property rights, so something similar to trademarks, and this means that they provide important legal protection. This protection means that the products are protected against the misuse, against the usurpation, and against any direct or indirect commercial use by someone else. What is specific is that this right is collective. When you register the trademark, you register it as a company. So the trademark is just yours. You have to pay for the registration of trademark. This is also the difference because for geographical indications, when we register them at the European level, there is no fee, and the protection basically lasts forever unless the producers decide to cancel geographical indication, which they have the right to do. And since it is a collective right, it means that the use of the name is open for any producer that is located inside of the geographical area that was defined at the beginning by producers, when this producer produces the product according to the way that was agreed by the producers. So when the product is produced according to product specification. And why do geographical indications matter for producers? Besides the legal protection that is very strong for geographical indications, they are also connected with better market opportunities. It was already mentioned that the price of geographical indications is usually higher based on the data that we have. On average, we see that the price is twice as much as the price of comparable non-GI products. And this price premium is even higher for the products in the spirit drink sector and also for the wines. At the same time, it also the scheme also allows and gives better access to the third countries, markets, because the European Union also actively promotes these products. And it can be also used by producer as an important marketing tool because the logo you see is very important representation of the fact that you have a geographical indication, and it is very important for the communication towards the consumer. And importantly, the producers of geographical indications have the access to the EU promotion policy, which is a big fund for the promotion of agricultural products at the European and international level. But at the same time, I have to admit here that this promotion policy is mostly designed for bigger organizations because the single producer or small producers cannot apply. Organizations that are eligible are the producer groups and recognized producer groups at the national level, or the promotion agencies, because the amount of money that is provided for these kind of campaigns is quite significant, and there is also the co-finance rate that is required. So it is clear that it's not easy to access this scheme for the small producers. And as I mentioned, the logo is a very important representation of geographical indication because for the European consumer, it's really the sign or the label or the seal of the European quality, because seeing this logo on the products, the consumer can be sure that the product is really authentic, because these products are also controlled by the national authorities. So this helps to build the trust and connection with the consumer, and it also provides transparency. And last but not least, the signs of geographical indications are also important for the community. The system safeguards the cultural heritage because really the way we protect these products ensures that the production and the economic activity stays in the region. Many of these products and the way how they are being produced contribute to preserving the biodiversity, and also they contribute to sustainable agriculture, which is a big topic today because many of these products have been on the market for a very long time and they are produced according to specific way of production, which often doesn't have a big impact on environment because the production is not industrial. And it also enables to create the jobs, not just in the area of production, but also in related activities in the region, because we have seen this in many cases of different products, that the geographical indications can have the positive impact on tourism, but of course this requires a certain level of effort and activity for the producers or the local authorities or the promotion agencies, to seize the potential and grab the potential of geographical indication and use it for the benefit of the whole region. I already mentioned at the beginning that last year was very important for us because in May the new regulation, so the new rules for geographical indications entered into force. The idea of the reform was to strengthen and simplify the legislative framework for geographical indications that we have, because I have to be honest, I can understand that the system is seen as complex because unfortunately there are many procedures and many provisions that can be difficult to understand. So by introducing this revision of the system, we have tried to make a system a bit more simpler, because the procedures are now harmonized for all three sectors. There is the same way how to apply for the product, whether you are applying for the wine, spirit drink or food. There is also now the same procedure for the amendment or for the cancellation of the geographical indications. We have the same set of protection rules for all kinds of products, and we also introduced some new mandatory deadlines for the Commission to speed up a bit a procedure and the registration, because if you would look at the information about all these geographical indications, in some cases the registration really took a couple of years to achieve the final stage when the producer was finally given the geographical indication. The system is also now stronger because the legal protection of the names of products has been further strengthened, especially in relation to the online sales, because today a lot of products are being sold also on the online markets, and we have noticed that this is also the area where a lot of counterfeiting is happening. And it is also stronger in a way because it now gives the opportunity to member states to endorse recognized producer group system, which are producer groups which have more competencies. And this system has been inspired also by long-standing systems that are in place in Italy and France, because they really have the strong identity of these producer groups. Producers of same product really try to work together because they see that by joint actions they can better manage their product and they can achieve more. And the system now also gives more visibility to sustainability. This was a specific request from some member states around Europe. They wish to introduce some sustainability elements to the scheme of geographical indications, because for some countries this is a very important topic, and we also see that consumers today are more interested in the way how the products they consume are produced and what kind of impact they have on the local conditions. So what we did is that we gave now the opportunity to producers to introduce in the specifications some sustainable practices. But it is all on voluntary basis. So if producers don't want to, they don't have to, because for geographical indications, you have seen the number. There is a variety of products, so of course it would be impossible for us to define what is the sustainable standard of the production of different kind of products. And the producers have now the way to communicate and to use this element in the communication towards consumers. We see that Estonia has just 2 geographical indications, but there are also other countries in the European Union that still has also rather small number of geographical indications. I would say that this applies to the whole Northern Europe, specifically also Nordic countries, but also countries in the Central and Eastern Europe, because we also see that these smaller countries also face specific challenges. One of them is the fact that the awareness about the scheme of geographical indications is still very limited, both among the consumers but also among the producers. And this is why it is also very important for us to organize these kind of conferences to really increase the awareness and bring more information to producers. Then we also see that in some of these countries there is the difficulty and struggle for producers to organize collectively, because producers see each other rather as a competition than as a possibility to cooperate together. But we all know that this has also some historical roots in a way that the agriculture was managed in this part of the Europe some years ago. And then we also see that the producer engagement and the work with the geographical indication also often remains very limited, even when the producer actually register the name of their product as a geographical indication, because sometimes the producers, when they don't invest effort into further development, the potential of the geographical indication remains underutilized. So these are all the reasons why there is a lot of effort needed at national level in general, not just at the level of producers, but also some effort is needed from the promotion agencies, national authorities, to really promote the system, not just among the producers, but also at the level of consumers, because to have the geographical indication as a producer is one thing, but also consumers need to be educated. What does it mean? Because consumers are the ones who drive the demand. And there is also a lot of work for us at the European level. So we still have a lot of work in the Commission to do to support the further development of the geographical indication system. As I mentioned, we have now the new regulations, so we will focus on the implementation of these new rules in upcoming years. And as already mentioned, one of the objectives of this regulation was also to increase the uptake of geographical indications across the countries where the number is still very low. And to support the delivery of this objective, we have now introduced the new tool, which is called a GI toolkit. It is very new. We launched it only last week. And basically, it is a step-by-step guide which gives the producers overview of what is needed to register the product as a geographical indication. This toolkit includes the series of 5 videos explaining the registration procedure, but also the content of different documents that are needed. The videos are in English, but there are subtitles available in all EU languages. And there is also another tool that is included, which is an eligibility check tool, which is a short questionnaire where you can check whether the name of your product would be eligible for the GI protection. And this is also available in all EU languages. And we also introduced the number of promotional videos, which includes the testimonies of producers from around the EU that already have either the PDO or PGI, and the Commission intends to use these videos in our promotion activities when we go to different fairs or also on our social media. And going back, I also already mentioned the EU promotion policy, but another novelty is the fact that this year the President of the European Commission herself announced the new initiative and the new campaign that is planned for next year. It is the campaign called Buy European Food, and the idea is really to promote the European food. But of course, here geographical indications will play an important role, because there is just no better way of, or no better representation of what is the European food than geographical indications, where so many raw materials also come from different parts of the European Union. And the last thing I would like to mention is the fact that although there is no direct financial support connected to this system, there are the funds available under the Common Agricultural Policy. This is different in each member state, but there are ways how to apply for these funds and use these funds also for the development of your product as a geographical indication. So it is also important to think about these opportunities. And I will stop my presentation here. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm available to answer your questions, whether now or later today, as I will be present during the day. Yes, please.
In Estonian or in English? Jah, tänud. Olen patendivolinik Villu Paavelts. Ja te väga kujukalt kirjeldasite sellest geograafilise tähiste registreerimisest, eks ole. Nii, aga kas siin loengus veel tuleb või teie hiljem räägite, kuidas seda kaitstakse, et kes sellest nagu hoolitseb, kes peab tõstatama selle üles, et mingisugust geograafilist tähist või päritolu tähist valesti kasutatakse. Et kes selle peab tõstatama, kas on selleks mingid riiklikud organisatsioonid või see ühing, kes siis registreeris selle, sest see on see mõte, et keegi kasutaks. Et see on tore on omada siis registris seda geograafilist tähist, eks ole. Aga oluline on see, et seda valesti ei kasutataks. Kas sel teemal veel tuleb mingit juttu või on see mingi järgmise seminari teema? Tänan.
Well, the time for the presentation and the information to put in the presentation was limited, but I'm happy to answer your question, of course. Indeed, it's very important to ensure that the names of these products are not misused by someone else. And this is supported by the control system for these types of products. The controls of geographical indications and enforcement of their protection is the responsibility and competence of member states. This is why each member state, so also including Estonia, has to designate the competent authority. And this competent authority has to first verify the compliance of this product with its product specification, so how producers agree to produce these types of products. And this happens before the product is placed on the market. So the producers are themselves being controlled. And then once the products are already on the market, they also have to be controlled. The member states also has to design or designate the specific authority, which is also the case here in Estonia. And these authorities have to have in place the planning for each year, which includes the controls that will be performed during the years. They have to, we don't define the frequency. This is up to the member state based on the knowledge that they have, which products are being misused. Of course, they can go to supermarkets, they can control these products also in the restaurants and the whole HoReCa sector. And then, besides that, they can, of course, also receive notifications from you as producers, and they have the obligation to investigate if you as a producer or also as a consumer notifies this competent authority. The authority has to go and investigate the case, and if there is the proven case of the misuse of the name, they have to act. This also depends on the way how the procedure procedures are defined, and also what is the level of misuse. Because if it is, I don't know, some rather unintentional misuse of the name, first it can be just some administrative warning. Of course, in case of more serious breaches, there are sanctions and penalties being applied, or also withdrawal of the product from the market, which is the case when really someone else uses the name and puts your product on the market. Then this protection also applies across the whole European Union. So if your product is being sold, let's say in Germany, the competent authorities there have the same obligation to control the products on the market, and they have the obligation not only to control the products, the geographical indications from Germany, but also the products from other EU member states, because the protection of the geographical indication applies across the whole EU. And if you would have the information that your product is being misused somewhere else in the world, for example in China, and your product is included in the list of the trade agreement, then you can notify your national authorities. They notify the case to us in the Commission, and we take it to the national authorities that have to enforce the protection of geographical indication in China. But at the same time, it can be also the responsibility and the possibility for producer groups themselves to invest in the enforcement of their protection. And this is what we see with the big geographical indication names. Let's mention Champagne, let's mention Parmigiano Reggiano, Prosciutto di Parma. Behind these products, there are strong producer organizations, and they monitor themselves the markets, and they often invest their own resources in enforcing the protection when they see that the products are being misused. I hope I answered your question.
Nii, et eelmise teema lõpetuseks nii palju kommenteerin juurde, et Eestis on siis kontrollide ja järelevalve eest vastutav Põllumajandus- ja Toiduamet, ja läbi ajaloo on meil erinevaid rikkumisi olnud ja erinevaid lugusid ja ka turult eemaldamise case'e. Nüüd järgmine ettekanne, tuleme siis kodule lähemale, et kui me eelmisest ettekandest saime väga hea ülevaate kogu geograafiliste tähiste süsteemist, selle eesmärgist ja kuidas see läbi aja kujunenud on. Ja näeme ka seda, et Euroopa Liit ja ka liikmesriigid kõik teevad selleks, et geograafiliste tähiste süsteemi populariseerida, siis kui me jõuame nüüd konkreetselt registreerimisprotsessi juurde, siis see on kaheastmeline, et esimene aste toimub liikmesriigi sees, kus on suur töö vaja teha ära tootjatel endil, et panna ühiselt kokku toote spetsifikatsioon ja läbida siis vastuväidete esitamise protseduur. Et siis sellest, kuidas ja mismoodi see Eesti tasemel toimub, räägib lähemalt minu kolleeg Helena Päärenson. Ja palun.
Nii, aitäh ja tere tulemast kõigile ka minu poolt. Võib-olla enne, kui ma lähen päris selle ettekande juurde, 3 väikest sellist sissejuhatavat teadaannet. Et esiteks see, et see slaidid on natuke võib-olla üldistavad, et see ei sisalda päris kõiki detaile. Geograafiliste tähiste maailm on üsna mitmekesine ja keerukas. Seetõttu siin teatud valik on tehtud, et pigem lähenesin sellise laiema pintsliga. Nii et see on tõde, aga mitte kogu tõde. Ja teiseks siis see, et osadest slaididest ma libisen üsna ruttu üle, markeerides ära võib-olla nagu paar põhiasja, mida tasuks seal meeles pidada. Aga need slaidid on veel pärast kõik teile kättesaadavad, saate huvipakkuvaid teemasid täpsemalt uurida ja siis juba rohkem teemasse sisse minna. Ja kolmas asi on see, et ma vabandan ette, novembri, kui ilmad on jätnud oma jäljed, ma aeg-ajalt võin köhida, et siis olge siis kannatlikud. Nii, aga kui me räägime siis geograafilistest tähistest, siis see on selline üldnimetus, mida me kasutame mõeldes tegelikult 3 tähisele. Ja need on siis kõik Euroopa Liidu kvaliteedikavad, milleks on kaitstud päritolu nimetus, kaitstud geograafiline tähis ja natukene erijuhtum on siis garanteeritud traditsiooniline toode, millest siis ma räägin ka natukene hiljem. Ja tegelikult 4. on mahelogo kandev siis Euroopa Liidu mahelogo kandev tooted. Ja lisaks siis Euroopa Liidu ülestele on olemas ka riiklikud kvaliteedikavad, mille siis Eestil on 2. On Rohumaa veise lihatootmine ja biosfääri programmi Rohumaa veise lammas, millest me täna ei räägi. Nii, kui nüüd püüda see geograafilise tähiste olemus võtta kokku valemisse, siis põhimõtteliselt on meil üks komponent, geograafiline piirkond, teine komponent, eripärane toode ja kui nende vahel on seos, siis tegelikult on meil alus rääkida ka siis kaitstud päritolu nimetusest või siis kaitstud geograafilisest tähisest. Ja ajaloost on täna juba siin tegelikult juttu olnud, aga see, et panna see konteksti ka Eesti mõttes, siis see kontseptsioon või lähenemine geograafilistele tähistele on päris pikk, see on 1883 ja siis tuli see juriidiline regulatsioon ja siis meie siis sisenesime nii-öelda geograafilise tähiste maastikule aastal 2019, nii et selle ajadiapasoon on päris suur ja lai olnud. Ja siis täpsemalt oli siis Estonian Vodka meie lipulaev ja aastast 2019 sai geograafilise tähise ja 2021 järgnes siis ka sõir. Ja üks kaart, mis ei ole nüüd küll päris selle aasta oma, kuid mis visuaalselt päris hästi näitab seda, et kus on nagu see raskuskese ja kes on väga-väga aktiivsed geograafilise tähiste valdkonnas, on siis Lõuna-Euroopa ja samas mida rohkem põhja poole me tuleme, seda selliseks heledamaks see kaart muutub, et selline see visuaalne pilt nagu on ja sama vaatab meile vastu ka, kui me räägime rahalises mõttes samast teemast, ehk et geograafilise tähiste nii-öelda müügikäibe mõttes samamoodi me näeme, kuidas seal, kus on seda palju kasutatud, kus on traditsioonid pikad, on see reaalne tasuvus ka näha. Ja võib-olla on hea ka välja tuua, seda on ka kõlanud tegelikult, et meil on olemas ka mitte ainult Euroopa Liidu vaade, vaid samamoodi on need nimetused kaitstud ka kolmandate riikide puhul ja kolmandates riikides, et juhul, kui meil siis on olemas vastavad lepingud. Ja siin on üks väljavõte siis Estonian Vodka juhtumist. Ja samamoodi on juba kõlanud kõik head põhjused, miks geograafilisi tähiste kaitset võiks kaaluda, aga jah, et võib-olla veel tuua välja nagu see, et on selline koostööd soodustav faktor, et kui Põhjamaad on sellised natukene individualistlikud võib-olla, et siis see toob tõesti seda teadmisi ja tooteid kokku ja samamoodi siis toetab ka seda regionaalset arengut ja aitab sellist maapiirkondade elujõulisust säilitada. Ja ütleme, kui on tõesti neid tähiseid juba palju, on tähistega tooteid palju, siis näiteks Lõuna-Euroopa riikides on näha, kuidas on võimalik teha täiesti suur võrgustik ja panna see hobune siis turismitööstuse vankri ette. Nii et need võimalused on rohkemad kui lihtsalt kaubamüük. Aga kaubamüügi puhul on kindlad juba mainitud eelised, ehk et seda jääb paremini võib-olla silma. Võib-olla, ütleme, turistina, isiklikult võin öelda, kaubapoodides vaatan, et kui tahaks kohalikku toodet osta, et kas ma leian seal, märkan seda silti või logot. Ja loomulikult on ka see eksporti toetav võimalus. Nüüd pikalt enam uuesti sama juttu üle ei räägi, aga võib-olla võiks välja tuua seda, et Eestil veel ei ole mitte ühtegi kaitstud päritolu nimetuse kvaliteedimärgiga toodet. Et need on siis need kõige rangemate nõuetega tooted, kus on nii tooraine samast piirkonnast kui kõik tootmisetapid samas piirkonnas. Nii et seda meil veel ei ole. Küll aga meie mõlemad kaitstud tooted on siis geograafilise tähisega tooted ja need on siis selles kategoorias. Ja kolmas on siis natukene erilaadne, ta otseselt ei ole seotud geograafilise piirkonnaga, aga ta kaitstusaste on midagi hoopis muud, on palju leebem ja siin samamoodi ei laiene sellele siis rahvusvahelise intellektuaalomandi õiguse kaitset. Ja ülevaatlik tabel võib olla, et mis siis nagu need erinevused on ja missugused valdkonnad kuhu kuuluvad, et on siis siin. Ja otseselt ma seda ette lugema ei hakka, aga siis kes pärast soovib, saab seda täpsemalt uurida. Ja oli juba juttu kaubamärgi versus geograafilisest tähiste olemusest, üks on siis individuaalne majandushuvide kaitse, teine on kollektiivne. Ja mõnes mõttes võib-olla, kui nüüd mõelda, et mis nimetuse kaitse siis olemuslikult on, et ta natukene võib mõelda looduskaitse teemaga, et me tegelikult kaitseme seda halbade mõjude eest, mis tulenevad siis kas kellegi pahatahtlikust käitumisest või lihtsalt mõne hästi tuntud nimetuse enda kasuks ära kasutamisest ilma sellele õigust omamata. Nii et siin on ka selline meelevaldne seostamine mõne tuntud nimetusega, nagu kui me viitame laadi, nagu selle stiilis tootele, siis ka see ei ole lubatud. Ja eraldi võib-olla peab välja tooma selle, et tänapäeva maailm on online ja virtuaalse ja interneti maailmaga väga läbi põimunud, et nii nagu on need nimetused kaitstud füüsilises kaubanduses ja füüsilisel turul, et samamoodi kehtib see ka internetis, domeeninimede puhul, et selles mõttes e-kaubandus ja päris kaubandus on juba praktiliselt nagu sama asi. Ja samamoodi on juba kõlanud, aga on väga oluline meeles pidada, et nii nagu on see eraldiseisev toode kaitstud, on samamoodi ka tema kasutamine koostisosana kaitstud. Ehk et kui on tootes näiteks kasutatud parmigiano reggianot, siis selle kõrval ei saa kasutada sama analoogset, mitte sama nimetust kasutavat toodet. Ja samamoodi on tähtis, mis on need kogused ja sisaldusprotsente tuleb siis ära näidata. Ja veel, mis võib-olla on paar mõtet, mida nagu meelde jätta, et kui keegi kavatseb siis kasutama hakata koostisena kaitstud nimetusega toodet oma tootes, siis tegelikult on vajalik teata selle kaitstud toote tootjaid, et võtan teie toote kasutusele oma toodete koostisosana. Ja jagu tuli juba ka jutuks, et Põllumajandus- ja Toiduamet on Eestis siis see institutsioon, kes vaatab, et kõik oleks nõuete kohaselt kasutatud ja teostab järelevalvet. Ja seda siis erinevates eluetappides, nii siis, kui alles plaanitakse selle kaitstud nimetusega tootega turule tulla, kui ka siis, kui tegelikult tooted juba on turul, et siis sellist pistelist kontrolli teab ka samuti Põllumajandus- ja Toiduameti poolt. Ja nende kodulehel on leitav ka nimekiri kõikidest nendest tootjatest, kes siis toodavad kaitstud nimetusega tooteid. Kontrollist veel, siin keskne dokument on see tootespetsifikaat, mille juurde ma tulen tagasi siis, kui ma räägin, kuidas taotlemine käib. Aga jah, et ühtepidi on siis see, mida vaatab tootespetsifikaadi najal Põllumajandustoiduamet, aga samamoodi ka need, kes ise toodavad, hoiavad üsna valvsalt silma peal, mis turul toimub. Ehk selline oma kontroll, et enda töötoit oleks kvaliteetsed ja vastaks spetsifikaadile, et see on nagu kahepoolne mõlemalt poolt siis. Ja see on nüüd välja võtta siis, et kui kõik on hästi korras, et siis siin on sellised nimekirjad nendele spetsifikaadile vastavate tootjate nimedega leitavad Põllumajandus- ja Toiduameti kodulehelt. Ja siit ma lähen üle. Aga jah, et oli juba juttu, et siin 2024. aastal jõustus uus Euroopa Liidu tasandi määrus ja sellega koos siis ka meie Eesti siseriiklikult uuendasime ministrimäärust sel teemal, mis siis kehtestab meie Eesti tingimused, kuidas käib geograafiliste tähiste toote taotlemine, kuidas esitatakse vastuväiteid ja mismoodi saab taotleda muudatusi eksisteerivale toote spetsifikaadile. Ja tulles nüüd selle taotlemise võimaluse juurde, siis on 2 etappi. Esimeses etapis on rõõm meil siin ministeeriumina olla siis see asutus, kelle juurde tulla. Ja kui see riiklik menetlus, mida veab Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeerium, on edukalt läbitud, siis järgneb sellele Euroopa Liidu tasandi etapp. Nii et skemaatiliselt võiks ta siis välja näha selliselt, et kõigepealt saame meie siin ministeeriumis siis taotluse, siis paneme meie selle välja oma kodulehele. Nüüd järgneb see vaidlustamise võimaluse etapp. Ehk et me vaatame, kas on kellelgi etteheiteid, probleeme, küsimusi seoses selle plaaniga üks nimetus ära kaitsta. Ja neid vastuväiteid on võimalik esitada 3 kuu jooksul. Ajaraam on piiratud. Ja nüüd on siis 2 võimalust. Juhul, kui nüüd tuleb vastuväiteid, siis on asi lihtne. Saadame kogu info edasi Euroopa Komisjoni ja käivitub järgmine etapp. Kui nüüd ikkagi seal kellelgi mingisugune probleem on sellega, siis anname meie sellest teada ja siis need 2 osapoolt, iga 3, sõltub palju need vaidlustajaid on, peavad omavahel saama kokkuleppele. Ja meie ministeeriumina sinna nagu otseselt ei sekku, küll aga me tahame teada, kas kokkuleppe saavutatakse või kokkulepet ei saavutatud. Ja lisaks siis on meil olemas alati ka nõuandev komisjon, kes vaatab need dokumendid läbi ja siis samamoodi avaldab arvamus siis nende dokumendi esitamise kohta järgmisesse etappi. See nüüd on ametlik protseduur. Tegelikult siin ees on üks mummuke, mitteametlik konsultatsioon. Ja me väga-väga tahaksime, et enne kui keegi ametlikult suure töö ära teeb ja paneb kokku need dokumendid, et tulge rääkige meiega ja vaatame nendele mõtetele korraks otsa, anname nõu, kuidas võib-olla saaks seda asja esitleda, millele tähelepanu pöörata, et kindlasti me julgustame kõiki kõigepealt tulema meie juurde selle mitteametlikule konsultatsioonile. Ja kui nüüd see taotlus on edukalt esimese siseriikliku etapi läbinud, siis järgneb Euroopa Liidu menetlus. Sellest räägib minu Euroopa Komisjoni kolleeg kohe täpsemalt, aga põhimõtteliselt skeem on üsna sarnane nagu siseriikluses etapis, et kõigepealt taotlus, küll nüüd liikmesriigi esitatult, läheb Euroopa Komisjonile, vaadatakse see läbi, samamoodi järgneb ka siis vastuväidete esitamise etapp. Ja siis asi siis kulmineerub Euroopa Komisjoni otsusega, kas siis taotlus heaks kiita või tagasi lükata. Millised on need dokumendid, mida ette valmistada? On põhimõtteliselt avaldus, siis see kõige tähtsam asi, tootespetsifikaat, mis on detailne, kus on kirjeldatud ära, mismoodi toodetakse, mis on need aspektid, mis annavad sellise erilised omadused. Siis kuna see tootespetsifikaat teinekord on väga-väga mahukas, siis samamoodi ka see koonddokument, mis summeerib kokku olulisema tootespetsifikaadi välja toodutest aspektidest, on ka geograafilise piirkonnad kaart, sageli väga detailselt ära joonistatud ja võib olla ka muid vajalikke dokumente, mis aitavad näidata siis seda seost selle geograafilise piirkonna ja toote vahel. Ja siis veidi teistmoodi on siis nagu see GTT taotluste puhul, aga laias laastus sama asi, et avaldus, spetsifikaat ja siis muud asjakohased dokumendid. Kes võib olla taotleja? Taotlejateks võib olla tootjarühm ja tootjarühma tähendus on tegelikult väga paindlik. Et põhimõtteliselt me võime rääkida tootjarühmas, kui on 2 taotlejat ja siis on juba rühm koos. Ja see, mismoodi nad selle juriidilise vormi valivad, et see ei ole tegelikult väga selline jäik, aga jah, et võib olla teatud tingimustel ka täitsa üksik tootja, et siin on nagu ära toodud teatud konkreetselt aspektid, mis siis nagu peavad olema näha, aga jaa. Et tootjarühmade puhul, kes siis tahab täpsemalt näha, et mis need eeltingimused on, et siis on see väljamõte ka Euroopa Liidu vastavast määrusest, artikkel 32 toob siis täpsemad iseloomud, omadused tootjarühmade koha pealt välja. Ja mis on veel oluline meeles pidada, on see, et iseenesest need kaitstud geograafilise tähise tootjad, see tootjarühm, et see ei ole suletud ring. Et tegelikult need, kes seda ära kaitsevad, ei tähenda seda, et see nüüd jääb nagu nende ainuomandisse, vaid vastupidi, kuna see on kollektiivne ja selline koostööl orienteeritud mehhanism, siis kõik võivad liituda, kes soovivad hakata seda toodet tootma, eeldusel siis, et näiteks Põllumajandus- ja Toiduamet siis vaatab, et jah, nende toode vastab sellele esitatud spetsifikaadile. Ja samamoodi on siin ära toodud ka siis tootjarühmade ülesanded, et see samamoodi, et ettevalmistada tootespetsifikaat, kõik see registreerimisprotseduurika ja nüüd ka natukene vastuväidetest. Ehk et seal on omad tingimused, see peab olema ikkagi tõendatud vastuväide ja näitama, et kuidas siis on probleemne, kui see mingisugune nimetus kaitstud saaks. Ja siin on 2 erinevat teed. Üks on sellel puhul, juhul kui see oli nüüd Eesti esitatud taotlus, et siis soovime siis kuulda sellest vastuväitest 3 kuu jooksul ja see taotlus on siis näha kõigile ka meie kodulehel, nagu juba öeldud. Ja teistpidi on siis see, et juhul, kui see ei ole mitte nagu Eesti riigis esitatud sooviavaldus, vaid kusagil mujal teises riigis, et siis me regulaarselt saadame tegelikult välja infot nendest taotlustest, kui keegi, ja mis on avaldatud Euroopa Liidu teatajas. Ja kui nüüd keegi märkab seal, et on mingisugune toode kirjas, mis võiks kahjustada meil siin mõne tootja huve, et siis samamoodi meie poole võib siis pöörduda selle infoga ja meie koostame siis selle vaide Euroopa Komisjonile esitamiseks. Aga siin on jälle see, et ajaraam on väga range ja hilinejaid pardale ei võeta. Ja veel kord veel kokku võttes siis, et jah, et on nagu meil siis ministeeriumi roll, vaatame siis reageerime nii Eesti taotluste puhul kui ka teiste riikidest tehtud taotluste puhul, aga mõnevõrra see skeem on erinev. Ja kui nüüd enam-vähem mingisugune pilt tekkis, aga tahaks taada täpsemat teavet, siis laias laastus tasub meeles pidada võib-olla 2 asutust Eestis, Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeerium, kus meie siis nagu oskame kindlasti rääkida sellisest üldisemast teabest, õigusraamistikust, sellest, kuidas taotleda kaitset, kuidas vaidlustada, kuidas teha muudatusi. Ja oluline meie partner on siis Põllumajandus- ja Toiduamet, kes teostab järelevalvet kes oskab anda nõu sellega, et kui on mõte tulla geograafilise tähisega tootega turule, kuidas siis toimida, vaatab, et see kõik vastaks toote spetsifikaadile ja oskab ka siis anda nõu juhul, kui on küsimusi selle koostisosana kasutamise kohta. Saab ka ise uurida, et kui te ei tea, kas see toode on juba kaitstud, siis on olemas sellised andmebaasid. Üks on e-Ambrosia, seal saab otsida riigi järgi, seal saab otsida tootegrupi järgi ja teine on Euroopa Liidus kui ka väljaspool, sisaldab infot on GIView, et samamoodi täitsa saab ise teha kodutööd ära. Ja võib-olla jah, et 2 põhilist õigusakti, üks on Euroopa Liidu tasandil on siis määrus, mis 2004. aastal vastu võeti ja siis meie selline praktiline rakendamise pool, meie ministrimäärus, kuidas siis taotleda, kuidas vaidlustada, kuidas teha muudatusi. Aga see ei ole veel kõik, nii et see 3 punkti on kõik need muud sellega asjaga seotud määrused ja juriidilised alused, mida lihtsalt ajapuuduse praegu siia kirja ei pannud. Nii et võib-olla sellised sõnumid kaasavõtmiseks tänasest ürituselt minu poolt on see, et märgake oma ümber neid kaitstud nimetusi. Kui te olete tootja, siis mõelge, et kas see, mida te hakkate tootma või toodate, et kas see võib olla kaitstud nimetus, kas te kasutate või soovite kasutada mõnda koostisosa, mis võib olla kaitstud ja kas teil on vajadus võib-olla oma toodet ära kaitsta, kas siis võltsingute vastu või siis väärkasutuste vastu või on teil lihtsalt nagu ekspordi ambitsioonid. Et siis kõik need küsimustega on meie uks valla, me väga hea meelega arutame neid teemasid täiesti niimoodi üks ühele, et võtke meiega ühendust ja räägime. Nii et minu poolt aitäh!
Tänan. Seal oli 2 Eesti seda geograafilist kaitstud tähist, eks ole. Ja kui ma olen või minul on mingi tuttav või klient, kes soovib sõira tootma hakata. Nii. Kas siis, kui ta selleks, et oma toodet nimetada sõiraks, ma saan aru, et peab mingid tingimustele vastama, kuid kas ta eelnevalt, et seda siis tähist kasutada, peab kontakteeruma selle tootjarühmaga, kes tootjarühm siis aksepteerib selle, ütleb jah, et teie toode vastab sellele, te võite selle panna. Ja ma siis ka see ettevõttega ühineb siis nende tootjate rühmaga ja pannakse kuhugi kirja.
Enamik põhimõtteliselt jah, aga siin on väga oluline mängija veel on Põllumajandus- ja Toiduamet. Et nemad on tegelikult need, kes annavad loa turule tulla selle kaitstud nimetusega tootega. Et selles mõttes, et nagu, et ma ütleks, et esimene samm võiks olla Põllumajandus- ja Toiduamet.
Tänan.
Kas on veel küsimusi? Vist mitte. Tänan tähelepanusid ja kui kellelgi tekib, siis ma hea meelega vestlen nendel teemadel ka lõunapausil ja nii edasi.
Aitäh Helenale selle põhjaliku ülevaate eest, et kuidas me Regionaal- ja Põllumajandusministeeriumina tõepoolest ootame väga, et enne kui tootjad oma suure töö ära teevad ja meile ametlikult taotluse sisse annavad, et siis võiksid meiega ka konsulteerida. Et oleme valmis kaasa mõtlema. Aga nüüd vaadates päevakava, siis on täiesti selline ainukordne juhus, et kui tavaliselt me oleme alati päevakavast taga, siis täna oleme kuidagi nagu päevakavast ees, et võib-olla on lootust veidi pikemaks lõunapausiks. Aga vaatame nüüd edasi seda, et kui taotlus on Eestis kõik need etapid läbinud ja on tunnistatud selles mõttes edukaks, et kas siis keegi Eestist ei esitanud vastuväiteid või kui esitas ja need me oleme suutnud need ära lahendada, et siis suunatakse ministeeriumi poolt taotlus Euroopa Komisjoni edasiseks menetlemiseks ja sellest, kuidas see protseduur välja näeb, et annab meile ülevaate Euroopa Komisjoni esindaja uuesti, et Katariina, please, the stage is yours again.
Indeed, I will now continue with the bit more detailed explanation of how the process works at the European level. Helena gave you a very good overview of what is needed and how the process starts and needs to start at the national level. And we as a Commission come into the picture a bit later. So there is quite a number of legislation pieces where you can find all the important information about geographical indications. We have also the specific legislation for the wines and spirit drinks. But now, as I said in the beginning, everything is pretty much harmonized. But the reason why we still have also regulation on spirit drinks and wines is because this is the general regulation for these types of products, not just for geographical indications, but geographical indications are partly mentioned also in these regulations. There are links, so if you are interested, you can check yourself. And importantly, as I mentioned in the previous presentation, now you can also watch the videos that we prepared that can give you a hint of what is needed in each step of the preparation of your application. But let me start by explaining a bit about who can apply for the registration of geographical indication. It is important to mention that this is a bottom-up approach, so the decision should be really made at the level of the producers. You have to decide as a producer if you want to give it a shot and apply for a geographical indications, and if you would like to really use the value coming from it. Then it is important that the application is submitted by the producer group. So the producers from the area of the production should come together and form such a producer group. It was already mentioned in the previous presentation that the rules are pretty flexible because the producer group can have any kind of form. It can be just association. We don't require specific legal form. But also it is important to mention at this place that single producer has also the opportunity to apply for a geographical indication if he can prove that there is no other producer at the moment willing to submit the application, or the other situation can be that the area where the product is being produced has specific conditions that are different from neighboring areas. But let's say that producers from the specific region indeed come together. What they need to do is first to agree on the product specification. This is something that they need to put on the paper for themselves, but later on also it will be needed at the national stage and at the European stage of the application. But this is really to define the standards, how you produce your product. This will become the public information at the national level, but also at the European level, because this is important for control authorities to see when they control on the market the products, whether the products that they are controlling are meeting these standards and this specification. After that, the producer group should, maybe with the help of the authorities at the national level, prepare the application for geographical indication. Then this application is formally submitted at the national stage. There are certain procedures happening, including, as we heard, of the national opposition procedure, which gives the opportunity to other producers or other interested party from the country to raise the objections if there are any. This is what sometimes happens, that producers come together from a certain specific geographical area. They agree on the product specification, but then when they apply, some other producers in the area wake up and they think that I produce this product as well and I do it in different way. And if the product will be then later protected as geographical indication, I won't be able to use it anymore on my product. So this is why it is important to have this procedure as a possibility for the discussion and the prevention of the situation that some producers would be excluded later on from using the name of the product. But what is also important to mention, and it's connected to the question that was raised, there must be the applicant group that will submit the application, but the producers who produce the product later on, they don't have the obligation to be part of the producer group. So there is no obligation to be involved. It's good, but it's not the obligation. So when the national stage is being completed, what happens afterwards is that the national authority sends this application to us in the European Commission. In the European Commission, what happens is that we examine the application. When we receive the application, we have the deadline of 6 months to examine the application. It's quite a long time, I know, but you have the possibility, and this is what normally happens, that the application is submitted in your national language. And we also need to translate the application for us in the Commission. There are several elements that we need to check during the examination procedure. And to be honest, it happens very rarely. I'm not aware of such a case that we would receive the application that would be perfect in a way that we could just straight away register the product. Most of the times there are things that, even though are not serious, require just some clarification from the national authorities or from the producers themselves. But what happens afterwards, in case the application is correct and everything inside is correct and complies with the legislation, is that we publish this application at the European level in the official journal of the European Commission for the opposition period. This opposition period takes 3 months, and it gives the opportunity to producers from other countries in the European Union, but also basically anyone also from outside of the EU can raise any opposition, but the producers from the country where these geographical indications come from cannot raise the opposition anymore at the European level. For them, it is the national opposition procedure is reserved. After the opposition procedure is over, or opposition period is over, there can be 2 outcomes. Either we receive no opposition from anyone. In such a case, we can proceed with the registration of the product as geographical indication, or it can happen that we receive 1 or even more oppositions or objections. And there are also specific grounds on which these objections can be raised, and these grounds can be found in the legislation, but basically you can raise the opposition if you think that there is that the product doesn't meet the criteria that are required for the product to become a geographical indication, or if you think that the application is not complete, or if it would clash with other rights, or if you or also in case it would there would be a conflict with the name of animal breed or plant variety, which are also what the European Commission is looking at during the registration procedure. So if there is a situation that we receive the objections, what happens is that we forward these objections to the applicant or also to the national authority. And the applicant for geographical indication and opposing party have 3 months to engage in the consultations and to agree. They can agree, for example, that they will modify slightly the product specification, or it depends on what kind of objections were raised. But if they manage to agree, they communicate the result to the European Commission. The European Commission further investigates and then normally proceeds with the registration of geographical indication. But there might be also the situation that the applicant and the opposing party are not able to agree. In that case, they still have to notify the European Commission about the situation, about the state of play, let's say, that they didn't agree, but they consulted. And then it's up to the European Commission to decide what to do. The European Commission looks at the application, looks at the opposition, we have to assess all the important elements, and then we have to take the decision whether we will register the product or not. And so when the decision is made that the product will be registered as a geographical indication, what happens is that we publish the application again in the official journal of the European Commission, but this is the publication that the product was registered and will be entered into the European Legal Register for Geographical Indications, which is the system of e-ambrosia that you could have seen in the previous presentation. But what do we actually examine in the European Commission? We have to ensure that the application doesn't contain any manifest errors. So in a big part, we also rely on the fact that the national authorities examine the application and raise at the very beginning the potential problems with the applicant. But then what we look at further in the European Commission is the coherence and the clarity of the application. We look whether the name is distinctive, whether it's not generic, whether it doesn't clash with, for example, with the registered geographical indication from other country, whether there are possible problems with the trademarks that were already registered, and then we check whether there is a sound link between the product and the place, because the connection between the product and the place of origin is what makes the geographical indication a geographical indication. And if something is unclear, which happens very often, we send the questions back to the national authority, as we are not in direct contact with the applicant. But we communicate with the colleagues in the ministry, and it's their role to either they can reply the questions themselves if it is something about procedure, for example, or if it really concerns the application, they go back to you as the applicants. And what the application for the registration should contain? Well, this is also something that is defined in the legislation. This was already mentioned in the previous presentation. The application has to include the product specification, which is essentially the set of conditions defining how the product is being produced. Then what is very important for us in the Commission is what we call single document. Single document is basically the summary of the product specification. It's a short document of 3-4 pages. And this is the document that we actually publish at the end in the official journal of the Commission. And this document is being translated into all EU languages, and it can be found in our WIGO database, which is accessible to all the people, including the control authorities in the member state. So it can be used by the control authorities in all member states when they are controlling these products on the market. And there can be also different documentation that can be included in the application. What we require is the name and address of the applicant producer group or the single producer, if that's the case. Then we require the name and the contact of the competent authority or control body that will be the one verifying the compliance with the product specification, because as I mentioned in my previous presentation, before the product is placed on the market, it has to be officially verified by the control body or the competent authority, which will verify whether the product meets all the conditions defined in the product specification, and it will give, let's say, attestation of compliance to this producer, who can then use the geographical indication, including the symbol. And the application can also include other information that are deemed appropriate or useful by the applicant or the national authority. For example, in case you would have the product whose link is based on the reputation, I will speak about it a bit later, you can include the proof about the reputation of this product. In this slide, you have basically the short overview of what needs to be included in the product specification. And basically the same categories are then replicated in the single document. Of course, as mentioned, we have 3 different sectors. We have wine, spirit drinks, and food. So there might be the specificities for each of these sectors. So I will today try to give you more global look, but if you have any other question later on, I'm available to answer those questions. But so what is normally included in the product specification is, of course, the name of the product. Then you have to include the description of the product. Then the producers also need to decide about the size of the geographical area. Then we require the proof of origin, which is basically the description of the procedures that producers have in place to ensure the traceability. So how they are, for example, buying the raw materials and how they keep the track between the raw materials that they bought and the amount of products that they produced. Then the product specification also includes the description of the method of production. In case of wine, what needs to be included are the categories of grape wine products, maximum yields per hectare, the wine grape varieties that are used for the production of wine, and then specific oenological practices. And in case of spirit drinks, what needs to be included is the category of spirit drink and also the production method. And then we come to the very important part of the product specification, which is the part that describes what is the connection of the product with the geographical area. And last, the product specification may include the specific rules on packaging and labeling, if there are any. Now, I was also thinking about giving you a bit more details and explaining what are the things that we are looking at and what could be useful for the producers who are thinking about the application for geographical indication. So, of course, the first question is what can be registered as a geographical indication. So we can register the name that has been used to designate a specific product on the market. what is important to say is that the name, especially when it comes to food, must already exist. It must be on the market, so we don't just register the names that have been made up. So the name should be used in trade or in common language. This means that we normally register the name in your case in Estonian language, but it's true that we have registered Estonian vodka, which is essentially the English language. But for spirited drinks, this is of course allowed because this is the name. It is important that the applicant can prove that the name was used historically in trade, and I assume that this is also one of the products that is being exported a lot, so it was important and possible to register such a name as a geographical indications. Then it is important to mention that the translation is normally not part of the geographical indication, so it's not like that we would protect the Estonian version of the name and then the translated name, but the protection, that the legal protection that applies for geographical indications applies also to translations. For example, let's mention again, prosciutto di Parma. If Italian producers find somewhere on the market Parma, ham from Parma, and it's not the ham that complies with the standards of the prosciutto di Parma geographical indication, of course, the protection applies in this case. And then it's also important to mention that there is a possibility to register multiple names. I use the example of Miel de Ibiza or Mel Davisa, which is the geographical indication from Spain. And this is to cover the cases when one product is known on the market under two different or similar names. This can be the situation when there is the national language, but there is, for example, also the dialect, and the product has a name in dialect. What is also, however, important to mention is that we would not register the names which includes the adjectives like traditional, natural, or original, because these are, of course, very subjective characteristics, and it's not something that we can verify. And as I mentioned, we cannot register the artificially created names. So when we look at the geographical indications that we have already registered, what is the usual situation is that the name that is registered includes a geographical element: Estonian vodka, Swedish vodka, prosciutto di Parma, Miel de Ibiza, but we also have the cases where such geographical element is missing, but what we can also register the name that has been traditionally used. This, I believe, would be case of the other Estonian geographical indications here, but also very well-known product feta. What we cannot register is the generic name, so the name that is basically freely used on the market by anyone, and it is not specific. It doesn't have any specific connection to some regions, but it can be basically, and it's been basically produced everywhere. This we can mention the example, for example, of Chardonnay or Camembert. And we also, as I mentioned already, don't register normally the name that would conflict with a registered sign, plant variety, animal breed, or very well-known trademark. But here we always assess case by case, and there might be different conditions that apply, but this is something that is part of the assessment. Then, now going through the different elements that I mentioned on the slide of the product specification, let me give you just a brief summary of what we expect to see in the description of the product. So in this part, you you or the producer have should basically define the principal physical, chemical, and microbiological characteristics of the product. What we want to see is the description that can be, let's say, the description that would be used by the food technologist or the agronomist. This is to ensure that what is included is or are the conditions and the descriptions that are easily verifiable. So there should be no subjective description saying that my product is the best on the market, my cheese is the very unique product. This is something that is very subjective, so we cannot accept it. I included some examples. So basically, for example, in case of food, it is important to mention the important characteristics such as the shape, the color of the cheese, the aroma, then other physical and chemical characteristics such as the acidity. Then you can describe the special texture, and what is also always important to describe the size of the product, because this is also something that is important when the inspectors control the product on the market. Then in case of wines, very similarly, you should describe the color, aroma, taste, acidity, and other characteristics specific to the wine. And for spirit drinks, it is very important to include the specific characteristics of the product compared to spirit drinks of the same category, so to show the specificity of the product. Then in the section on the description of the method of production, the producer should basically explain how the product is being produced and to describe whether this way of production is authentic, whether there are certain local methods through which the product has been produced. And again, there is a specificity for wines to include in this part also maximum yields and specific oenological practices. Then I mentioned that if relevant for the producers, there can be also other specific rules being defined. This applies to food. In case of products of animal origin, it's also important to describe the feed that is being used for the animals from which the product is being made. I mentioned it already in my previous presentation, the case of prosciutto di Parma. In the application, you will directly find saying that the feed that is used for the animals must come from the geographical area, and this is the requirement because in case of protected designation of origin, which I explained, that has this as a condition. But in case of protected geographical indication, the situation is actually different. The feed and also raw materials in case of processed products may come from elsewhere, but sometimes the producers say that traditionally we use the raw materials from this region, but they want to apply for protected geographical indication. So if producers decide that they still want to use just the raw materials from the region, they can do so, but in this case we require the justification because this would be in general in conflict with the with the rules of the single market. Then what needs to be described are specific steps in production that must take place in geographical area. As mentioned, in case of protected designation of origin, all steps of production must take place inside of the defined area. But in case of protected geographical indication, there is a requirement that only one step of production must take place in the area. It can be one is minimum, but it can be, of course, more. What is also important to mention here is the fact that packaging and or bottling in case of wine is not considered as a production step, so it can take elsewhere, and also storage is not considered as being a production step. So there is no requirement that this would have to be happening inside of the geographical area. And then there can be also specific conditions for slicing, grating, and packaging. This, for example, applies to cheese or also to different meat products, when the producers want to also define that the cheese should be only sold in a certain specific way, for example, as the whole cheese, or they can also define that they want to sell it in small pieces. Many producers also decide to define the conditions of packaging, how the product should be packed, and in many cases the producers also use their own logo, so not the PDO or PGI logo. And if that's the case, this logo should be replicated inside of the single document, and it should be, because the geographical indication is available for use to any producer in the area, also this logo would be then available for the use by any producer who decides to produce this geographical indication. Then in case of wine, you can describe the specific conditions concerning bottling, and the same in case of spirit drinks. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the producers have now the possibility to also include the sustainable practices in their product specification, which is also now a very new area. So we are just at the beginning of, and we will just see how will producer decide to approach these sustainable practices. Then we come to the definition of geographical area. So here it is very important that this definition is precise and concise. What is normally sufficient, and what normally happens is that this geographical area is designated in relation to administrative boundaries, so it's defined at the level of the provinces or regions, or at the different type of municipality level. And it should be delimited with regard to the link between the area and the product. This means that if in certain region there are some specific natural conditions that gives the product some specific characteristics, it's important that the geographical area is defined in such a way that these conditions applies inside of the whole defined area. As I mentioned, the link is considered to be the most important part of the geographical area, of the geographical indication, because it's really the way how and why you describe that the product has a specific connection to the geographical indication. So what is required in this section of the specification and the application is the definition of the specific conditions in the geographical area. Then you define the specific product, so you define the characteristics of the product and how is this product different from other products of the same category. And you describe what is the interplay between these two factors. So if you define that the region where you produce your product has specific climate conditions, for example, for wine, you define what's the climate, what is the type of the soil, and then you define that you produce the wine that has this very specific color and very specific taste. You define why or from which elements of the natural environment these specificities of the wine stem from. Yes, this is what I have just said. So also, for example, you can define that the aroma of the wine is due to the specific soil in the area where you are growing your your vineyard. As mentioned, it's important to describe in this section what makes your product special, so how it is different from the products of the same category. And I would like to also mention the specific case, because in case of geographical indication and protected geographical indication, the link can be based just on the reputation. Reputation means that the product is well known by the consumers, and they associate this product with the certain place. Although the way how it is being produced maybe could replicate it also somewhere else. For example, we registered Oktoberfest beer as a protected geographical indication. And there, the producers really argue that the link is based on the reputation, and what we normally require, or what the producers can submit as a proof of reputation, are different excerpts from the books referring to the name, references in other publications, like, for example, national newspaper describing that the product is being famous. Very often there are specific celebrations in the regions where the product is being part of these celebrations, or it's even the main subject, which was the case, of course, in case of Oktoberfest beer. And it's important to mention that historical references are in general irrelevant, let's put it this way, because very often we see that we receive the application and the producers describe the whole history, how the product has been known for centuries. And this is important to prove and provide the background and the context, but it cannot be the only ground on which you would build the reputation. We also need the proof that the product has been used on the market recently, and it's still used, and the name is still being used. So historical references are useful for creating the context, but we also need the proof of the current use of the name. This is what I explained at the beginning. When the file is complete, when the application is complete and everything is as it should be, the single document is published for the opposition, which takes 3 months. And when the opposition procedure is over, I explained already that we register the product, which in practical and formal way means that we adopt the regulation at the European level, which states that the name of the product will be entered into the register of protected designations of origin and protected geographical indications. You can see here the case of your geographical indication SEER, which was registered in 2021. And then, as already mentioned, also in previous presentation, you can find this product being entered in both databases that we have. One is eAmbrosia, which is the legal register. So this is the register where you will find all the legal documents that are relevant for the product. It means the document about the registration, its publication in the official journal for opposition, and also the single document available in all European languages. And of course, here, if you are interested, you can basically see the geographical indications from all EU member states that we have registered. And if you are the producer who is thinking about registering the product and have some questions how other producers define the product specification, you can access this database and see it yourself from different examples. And then we have the another database, which is called the GI View. This is a database that is closely connected to eAmbrosia because it takes all the data from eAmbrosia, but it is a bit more interactive because producers, because to this database, national authorities have also access. They can put their more detailed information about the producers. For example, if you check some products, you can even find the pictures of the products or pictures of the labeling of these products. In general, there should be information about the control authority of the product, which is important when others find some misuse on the market. But this is up to the national authorities. They can include the information about the producer group. Because this is also important that sometimes when some competent authority in other member state finds the infringement, they can contact also directly the producer group who may decide to take the legal action themselves. And through this portal, the representatives of geographical indications, so either the authorities or the producer groups themselves, if they have access, can also access the intellectual property enforcement portal, which is the portal that is used by different law enforcement authorities around the EU. These enforcement authorities can also basically contact the producer groups if they find, for example, the infringement of the geographical indication at the customs or somewhere else. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Yes, please.
Hi. So basically, you talked about the ambrosia, but for a lot of PDOs or PGIs, there is no technical specification brought out. Is there any reason why they're not there, or where can we find them?
Well, it's true that we have the cases where the product specification that would be, or single document that would be translated to all languages is missing. This is mainly in case of those products that were registered as geographical indications in the past. And in some cases, the producers over the years decide to also amend the product specification, which is possible. But if they don't, we don't have the reason, and also we don't really have the ground to go and ask producers to now, out of nowhere, prepare the updated single document or product specification. But if there would be any change of the geographical indication in the future, this document would be supplied and available.
Tänan. Mul on, kui seal toote kirjelduses, kus siis registreerida geograafiline tähis, oli ka toote omaduste kirjeldus. Seal oli, ja üks oli ka öeldud organoleptilised omadused. Et paljudes valdkonnades ja räägitakse keskmisest tarbijast.
There is no translation coming. Maybe my device ran out of the battery. Maybe that's the reason.
Yes, it's switched off for some reason. Why is it switched off? Okay. It starts up right now. Maybe by accident it was switched off. Now it works.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ja, et küsimus selline, et selles taotluses peaks olema ka kirjeldatud toote omadused. Ja paljudes valdkonnas ja ütleme kaubameri valdkonnas räägitakse keskmisest tarbijast. Et kas nende selle hindamisel, et kas toode siis väärib seda geograafilist tähist või mitte, seda kaitset, kas peab ka tavatarbija aru saama, et see toode on veidi teistsuguse maitsega kui see mingi teine või tavatoode. Kas selline nõue on või mitte? Tänan.
Yes, absolutely. It's important that the regular consumer also understands the specificities of the product and why this product is protected as a geographical indication. And indeed, the specifications and the applications are written in a way that I believe are understandable by the average consumer. But I mentioned that it is important to put there the description in a way that allows the verification, so the data should be also in measurable units, because this is important for the inspectors. But this means that, for example, you describe the size of the product in centimeters, you describe the weight of the product. But I believe that the rest, also the method of the production, is described in a way that is accessible for the consumers and also for us in the Commission, because we are, of course, also not all of us are not the agronomists, but and don't have the specific background in the food technology.
My question was about taste.
Yes.
That means average consumer should understand that this product is little bit different from the average product, because maybe the chemical content is different.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I am as an average consumer, no need to know the chemical content.
Yes.
But,
Yes, you are right.
Recognized by the taste.
Yes, and you are absolutely right. Sorry if I misunderstood before. But this is why we also require that the taste of the product and the shape is described, so the average consumer knows what to expect, and this is described in the normal language.
Of course, ma pärast räägin eesti keeles kohe. Keskmine tarbija pakendi. Average consumer, of course, understands the shape of packaging, but my question was specific about taste, organoleptic characteristics.
Yes.
Minu küsimus oli, et kas maitseomadused peavad tavaline inimene aru saama, et on erinevad.
Ingrid Matsina, patendibüroo patendivolinik. Minu küsimus on kaubamärkide ja geograafiliste tähiste topeltkaitse kohta. Et aeg-ajalt juhtub, et need samad tootjad, kes on oma tähise ära kaitsnud geograafiliste tähiste süsteemi kaudu, püüavad seda kaitsta ka kaubamärgina, et kas identsel kujul või seal mingi natuke teistsugune logo või lisades sinna mingisuguseid sõnu, ja üldjuhul ka see nende kaupade loetelu sellises kaubamärgi taotluses vastab täielikult spetsifikatsioonile. Aga geograafilise tähise kaitse on meil, eks ole, tegemist kollektiivse õigusega, kaubamärk on individuaalne õigus, siin tekivad erinevad õiguste komplektid, mis teatud olukordades võivad ka omavahel konfliktsed olla. Ja ma olen tähele pannud, et Euroopa Liidu intellektuaalse omandi amet ei ole ka selles asjas päris selget praktikat välja kujundanud. Vaidlused on minu meelest praegu mingi vaidlus on suures apellatsioonikojas. Et mul on lihtsalt küsimus, et kas Euroopa Komisjonil on ka mingi seisukoht selle kohta, et kas selline topeltkaitse peaks olema lubatud või mitte, või on teie seisukoht, et ootame kuni EU IPO ja ilmselt ka Euroopa Liidu kohtud selles küsimuses valgust heidavad?
Thank you very much for your question. Indeed, there might be different cases of the interplay between the geographical indications and trademarks. We define the relationship, the basic relationship between geographical indications and trademarks in our regulation. When the geographical indication is already registered, it is normally possible to still register the trademark in theory, but as you said, there are different practices that are applied at the national level by the IP offices and also at the EU IPO, who I believe has the guidelines explaining how they assess the registration of trademarks that would conflict or have the specific interplay with geographical indications. And indeed, there are often cases which end up in the court, and it's for us to wait for the decision, and then based on that, potentially to change the practice also at the EU IPO level. This is the developing case law. And what I also wanted to say is that, of course, when the trademark is being applied after there is already the application for geographical indications, the geographical indication has a priority. So such a trademark, if it would conflict with a geographical indication protection, can be rejected, or if it happened so that it was registered, it can be invalidated. But this is not really our area, let's say, in geographical indication unit also, although we follow how the case law is being developed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Nii, olemegi oma päevakavaga jõudnud ennelõunase osa viimase ettekandeni. Et nagu siin varasemalt juttu on olnud, siis tõesti Eestil on väga vähe kogemust geograafiliste tähistega põllumajandus- ja toidu valdkonnas. Küll aga seda enam oli meil väga hea meel, et Liisa Luhaste moe viinavabrikust poolt oli nõus siis tulema ja oma kogemust jagama. Nii et palun, Liisa, räägi oma ettevõtte kogemusest siis. Nii, siin on siis, siit saad edasi klikkida, siit tagasi. See on pointer.
Tere päevast kõigile ja olen Liisa ja räägin siis Estonian vodka kogemusest. Julgustan küsimusi küsima, võib ka täitsa ettekande ajal küsida, sest et ega mul ei ole see nii pähe õpitud tekst siin. Et hea, kui läheb rohkem suhtluse peale. Aga jah, me oleme siis Estonian vodka tootjad ja meie nii-öelda ettevõtete grupist siis üks oli see, kes algatas ka selle tähise kaitsmise protsessi. Selleks oli siis Estonian Estonian Spirit OÜ, kes oli siis piiritustootja. On piiritustootja. Aga ma tahtsin tagasi minna. Jaa. Et Eestis on tegelikult ju väga-väga pikk ajalugu seotud viina põletamisega. See on olnud väga oluline majandusharu just siis mõisamajanduses ja seda siis läbi sajandite. Ja Eestis esimene dokument, mis sisaldab sõna viin, on pärit juba 1475. aastast ja see juba hakkas reguleerima viina põletamist siis Tallinnas ja et kes seda võis teha ja kes seda ei võinud teha. Aga jah, mõisa ajal siis oli see üks oluline siis mõisate sissetulekuallikas ja viinakööke ju Eestis on olnud kõrgajal lausa üle 700, et sisuliselt suurem osa mõisatest tegeles nagu viina ajamisega, sest et see oli nende sissetulekuallikas. Ja põhimõtteliselt toodeti Eestis nii palju viina, et seda koha peal ei oleks jõudnud kunagi ära juua, ehk siis see oli ka oluline ekspordiartikkel. Aga jah, et miks me siis otsustasime selle geograafilise tähise taotlemiseni minna, oli see, et tolleks hetkeks nagu see turuolukord alkoholiturul oli selline, et tegelikult ei väärtustatud enam seda, kust see alkohol on pärit, millest need tooted on tehtud ja mis toorainest see konkreetselt on tehtud ja kust see tooraine pärineb. Et alkoholi märgistusnõuded on teatavasti väiksemad kui muul toidul, ehk siis tegelikult ei ole kohustust öelda, kust kohast näiteks tooraine pärineb, ega ka seda viina puhul siis, et mis tooraine see täpselt on. Et kui meil on pudeli peale kirjutatud viin, siis ta peab olema tehtud kas kartulist või teraviljast, aga mitte täpsemalt. Me ei tea, et kui me nüüd teeme viina viinamarjast või õunast, siis tuleb seda sinna täpsustada sinna pudeli peale. Aga üldiselt siis nii-öelda poes viinaletil vaadates me ei tea, mis teraviljast mingi pudel konkreetselt, mis teraviljast see piiritus seal sees on tehtud. Et see geograafiline tähis siis annab selle kindluse ja see oli siis meie nii-öelda põhiline motivatsioon, et väärtustada Eesti teravilja läbi selle viina valmistamise. Et need viinad, mis siis saavad omale selle geograafilise tähise, et selle läbi sa tead, et see teravili on Eestist pärit, et see piiritus on Eestis tehtud ja seal tegelikult ka vesi peab olema Eestist. Ehk siis meie jaoks oli see eelkõige nagu viis kinnitada seda ausust ja autentsust, mis ajalooliselt on olnud väga-väga oluline osa, aga viimaste aegade jooksul oli nagu turuolukord selles osas kõvasti muutunud. Meil on siis kokku 7 toodet, mis kannab Estonian Vodka geograafilist tähist. Meie nii-öelda põhibrändid ehk siis moe ja moemahe, siis meie ekspordiartikkel Rai 1886. Sisu on tal sama, mis moemahedel, aga nimi on teine, sellepärast, et siin on kaubamärgi teema üleval. Et moeviina me võime siis toota ja turustada ainult Eesti turul, aga mitte muudes Euroopa riikides. Siis Kurber krukis, mis oli tegelikult esimene toode, mis selle sinikollase märgi omale etiketile päriselt sai, kuna tema turule tulek langes sellesse aega, kui see geograafiline tähis siis ära kinnitati. Ja siis veel seeria Silver Swanidest, sinine, must ja valge, mis siis ilusti annab ka meie trikolori kokku. Aga igal asjal on omad plussid ja miinused, eks, et loomulikult on see nii ka selle geograafilise tähisega. Loomulikult see kõige suurem pluss on see, et see on kaitse ja see on teatav kvaliteedimärk ja teatav nagu päritolu kinnitus. See tähis võib avada mingisuguseid ekspordivõimalusi, kuna teistes Euroopa liikides ikkagi on see tähiste süsteem nagu rohkem tarbija jaoks tuntud kui Eestis. Tähistega on võimalik saada ka teatud toetusi, seal on ka küll teatud agasid, ehk siis need toetused on ikkagi suunatud konkreetse tähise tutvustamiseks, mitte konkreetse tootja või toote tutvustamiseks, et selles osas nagu tuleb tähelepanelik olla. Ja teine asi, et need toetused üldiselt on mõeldud tootjarühmadele, ehk siis mitte üksikule ettevõttele, et sa pead siis koostööd tegema nende teiste märgikandjatega. Ja siis muidugi on sellel märgil ka oma turunduslik väärtus, et küll seda turunduslikku väärtust tuleb tõsta veel tarbija seas, et tarbija seda ka nagu rohkem tunneks, aga seda nii-öelda selles võtmes kasutada saab ja kindlasti tuleb. Nüüd, mis siis võib-olla need natuke miinuspooled, aga nii ja naa on see, et on lisajärelevalve ja on rohkem dokumentatsiooni vaja siis hallata ja esitada. Muidugi see on selles mõttes ka nagu pluss, et kui me tahame midagi kaitsta, siis me peame sellele ju järelevalvet pidama, et siis me peame ka leppima sellega, et meie üle peetakse seda järelevalvet, aga järelevalve teemast see on, kuna see on nii järelevalve jaoks üsna uus asi kui ka tootjate jaoks üsna uus asi, siis eks seal on nagu neid selliseid õppimiskohti olnud mitmeid. Näiteks meil on olnud mitu ametnikku selle aja jooksul, ehk siis ametnikud on vahetunud. Ja tegelikult sellega, kui vahetub ametnik, on natukene muutunud ka see käekiri või see, millele nagu rõhku asetatakse. Et see on selline asi, mida meie ei saa nagu kuidagi suunata, aga jah, see on meie kogemus, ütleme nii. Ja siis Eesti turul on kindlasti ka raske koht see tarbijaharidus, et lihtsalt eestlane ei tunne seda märkide süsteemi. Ta teab kindlasti neid suuri kuulsaid näiteid, aga ta tingimata ei seosta kas või seda sama parmasinki nagu geograafilise tähisega. Ja väga paljud need suured tähisekandjad ka tegelikult ei kanna seda sinikollast märki, sest see ei ole kohustuslik. Et on tooteid, millel on kuskil juustuletis, võib-olla on leida, võib-olla ka singiletis, aga mitte kõik. Et võib-olla, kui meil oleks nagu rohkem neid märke ka poelettidel näha, et siis see jõuaks ka tarbijani nagu paremini. Ja siis ta võib-olla märkaks ka teistes tootegruppides seda sama nagu ümmargust märki. Ja siis soovitused, et kui keegi nagu plaanib või kaalub seda tähise teekonda ette võtta, et kindlasti see, et geotähis peab toetuma päris väärtustele, et meie puhul siis me tegime asju täpselt samamoodi ka enne ja me kirjeldasime ka tegelikult seal kaustas või selles dokumendis seda, kuidas me neid asju teeme. Et me ei mõtlenud uusi protsesse välja või ei loonud iseenda jaoks nagu uusi reegleid, vaid me panime kirja selle, mida me teeme. Et siis on nagu edaspidi lihtsam ka seda sama teed edasi käia. Siis kindlasti tuleks arvestada, et tuleb teha koostööd. Sest see märk on seda tugevam, mida rohkem on neid tootjaid tegelikult. Et see alguses, nii-öelda ausalt öeldes, ei olnud võib-olla meile suurim eesmärk, et nüüd, aga see tegelikult nii on, et kui on rohkem tootjaid, siis on rohkem inimesi, kes seda infot edasi annavad ja siis on rohkem inimesi, kelleni see info lõpuks jõuab ka. Ja siis muidugi, kui on nagu soovi neid toetuseid kasutada ja nii edasi, et siis samamoodi on see koostöö ju väga-väga oluline nende teiste tootjatega. Siis väga-väga oluline on ka kommunikatsioon, seda siis nii tarbija suunal kui ka protsessi käigus siis nii-öelda ametkondadega või järelevalvega. Et see järelevalve osas, seal ma arvan, et me oleks saanud ise teha ka paremat kommunikatsiooni. Muidugi see protsess on üsna pikk, et see taotluse esitamine, siis selle kinnitamine ja siis millal ükskord see jõuab järelevalvesse, et nendel läks ka ju aega, et neid rattaid ritta seada. Et kui see kõik on nagu aastate peale ära jaotatud, siis on nagu kerge sealt ree pealt natukene maha kukkuda. Et selles mõttes, jah, ma arvan, et nii meil oleks olnud lihtsam, kui ka järelevalvel oleks olnud lihtsam, kui ma oleks enne neid asju rääkinud lihtsalt omavahel läbi. Jah.
Minu küsimus on, et mida tähendab üsna pikk, et võib-olla teie näites, et kaua teil aega võttis sellega?
Ma nüüd ise ei olnud seotud tegelikult selle taotlemisega, et ma küll juba töötasin selles ettevõttes selleks ajaks, aga kui see taotluse esitamise osa oli, siis ma ei olnud nagu osa sellest protsessist on ju. Et minu meelest see taotlus sai esitatud kas 2016 äkki või midagi sellist, 17 vist kinnitati äkki kuskil nii, siis järelevalve hakkas minu meelest rohkem või niimoodi kuskil 2020. Et seal oli päris pikk vahe tegelikult, kus me põhimõtteliselt nagu ujusime lihtsalt kuskil, et ei meie teadnud, kuidas me seda peame nagu, oleks saanud paremini seda kommunikeerida siis selle järelevalvega, et nii meie poolt kui et kuidas siis nemad kavatsevad seda kõike nagu hallata, et seal oleks võinud olla jah, seda suhtlust nagu rohkem oleks mõlemale poolele olnud kergem vast. Ja siis viimaseks, et see KGT on kindlasti nagu hästi pikk plaan. Et see ei ole nagu projektipõhine lähenemine. Et see on päris oluline investeering siis ja see järelevalvega tuleb ka ju arvestada, et iga aasta nad käivad ja vaatavad kõik asjad uuesti üle. Et ja ka selles osas, et kui on soovi nagu uus toode tuua, et siis seal peab ka arvestama seda ajafaktorit, et kõigepealt esitada see taotlust, ma plaanin teha ja siis kui sealt poolt saab okei, siis alles hakkad seda tootma. Et see toote turule toomise protsess läheb ka pikemaks selles osas. Ja. Aga mis võib-olla Eestis nagu abiks oleks, et seda KGT-d rohkem tuntaks, teataks, et kui mingisugune väga selline laiatarbe kaup saaks omale ka veel selle märgi külge. Ma tean, et EPKK tegelikult planeerib nagu leivale seda taotleda. Ma mingil koosolekul käisin kuulamas ka, see natukene on minu meelest takerdunud hetkel see protsess, aga seal ka ma soovitaks nagu mõelda selles osas, et see, mis iganes nime all see siis ära kaitstakse, et see siis ei saaks takistuseks nendele tootjatele, kes tahavad ikkagi leiba teha. Et see jah, et see nimi oleks võimalikult konkreetne või mitte võimalikult konkreetne selles mõttes, et tarbija ikkagi peab seda nime teadma, aga et ta ei oleks nii lai, et see nagu turgu hakkaks takistama teiselt poolt. Meie see nime valik Estonian vodka, muidugi see ingliskeelne valik on suures osas selleks, et see oleks siis kogu Euroopas kasutatav ja arusaadav. Et sõir on teistpidi näide, et sõir on ju eestikeelne sõna ja väljaspool isegi inimesed ei oska seda hääldada või kokku lugeda. Et selles mõttes on see nimi nagu keeruline. Et me valisime just selle mitte siis eestikeelse, vaid ingliskeelse variandi sellest nimest. Jah, et seda laiatarbekauba asja ma mõtlesin, et kui seal oleks nagu kaasatud suured tootjad, kellel on nagu päriselt seda jõudu ka seda turundust teha ja koos teha, et siis saaks ka Eesti tarbija nagu teadlikumaks sellest ja oskaks neid valikuid siis teadlikumalt teha. Aga rohkem mul punkte ei olnud. Jah.
Et kas te saaksite oma seda presentatsiooni tagasi lasta, et kus olid, mis tingimustele peab vastama, siis nii, jah. Tagab, et viin on toodetud Eestis kasvatatud teraviljast ja Eesti veest. Nii. Siin ja tähis on protected geographical indication, kes on kaitstud päritolu tähis. Et millised, aga samas, eks ole, minu arvates ka Eesti esindaja ja ka meie Euroopa esindaja oli kirjutatud PGI, tähendab, mis sama ongi teil, eks ole, at least one production step must take place in the defined area. Tähendab, et üks nagu tootmise etapp peab olema siis Eestis. Tähendab, et area on meil Eesti. Et kas siis... Mis need tootmise etapid siin on? Et mul oleks põllumajandusesindajale kui ka võib-olla Euroopa esindajale, et Eestis kasvatatud viljast ja Eesti veest, et kas piisab ainult Eesti kasvatatud teraviljast või piisab ka Eesti veest?
Ma ei ole siin nagu nii täpsusesse sellega läinud.
Aga mul on küsimus nendele.
Ma täpsustan seda tootmise protsessi, et tegelikult ka piiritus peab olema Eestis tehtud. Et peab olema toorainena kasutatud Eesti teravilja, Eestis kasvanud teravilja, piiritus peab olema tehtud Eestis ja siis vesi peab olema Eestist. Et mis ei pea olema Eestis, on villimine.
Ja, tänan. Et ma toonitan siin seda formuleeringut. At least one production step. Eks ole? Nii. Et teie räägite praegu, et kõik peaks olema, eks ole, piirituse tegemine ja Eesti vesi ja Eesti teravili, aga siin regulatsioonis on at least one, vähemalt üks. Et see oli minu küsimus ja küsimus ka Euroopa esindajale. Et kui üks on nagu, kas on Eesti teravili, kas on Eesti vesi või Eestis toodetud piiritus, kas ta siis vastab Eesti
ei.
Kui te tõlgid ei kuule tegevus?
Sorry, jätkasin nagu selle küsimuse just, et just küsimus on sellest, et kas ühest piisab, sellepärast, et praegu meil siin nii-öelda ekraanil on kaks asja, Eesti teravili, Eesti vesi, eks ole, nüüd räägiti veel juurde Eestis tehtud, peab olema piiritus valmistatud Eestist, eks ole, ja samas on regulatsioonis vähemalt üks. Nii et minu jaoks on siin vastuolu.
Nii, aga kas me peame klappe ka kellegi vaja?
Yes. It's working, okay. I would like to clarify. Edu is the one means Edu is the one, but it can be more. But this is mainly for food. But in case of spirit drinks, it's even a bit more relaxed because there often what is enough is the specific production method. Because it's true that for spirit drinks, there are even more specificities since the production is more specific. And that's why maybe for spirit drinks, if you take all these raw materials, you can replicate it somewhere else. And that's why when you go to spirit drink regulation, you will not find there the exact quotation saying that at least one production step must take place in the geographical area. But
it means that the applicant defines which are
Yes.
criteria. Okay?
Yes.
Because he was written at least one.
For food.
Et ma võin korraks täpsustada, et see vähemalt üks tähendab siis taotlemisel peab olema kirjeldatud vähemalt üks, aga kui see taotlus on juba, see tähis on juba heaks kiidetud, siis seda tuleb järgida absoluutselt.
Aitäh, Tanel Kalment apellatsioonikomisjonist. Et selline küsimus, et nüüd moevabrik, nagu siin öeldi, kuidas see täpne ärinimi on, ma ei tea, on nüüd, kes kindlasti Eestis toodab, et kuidas on nende teiste valdkonna ettevõtetega, et esiteks, kas nad ei tooda Estonian vodkat või teevad nad seda kartulist või Hiina maisist, mis oli ka üleval, kui selle kirjelduse koostamise teema oli täiesti, et majanduslikud tingimused lihtsalt. Ja nad ei või, eks ole, nimetada seda asja Estonian vodkaks ehk Eesti viinaks, et kuidas nad siis peaks nimetama seda asja?
On peale meie veel 2 tootjat, Surakas OÜ ja Manor Spirits OÜ, me oleme Moe OÜ siis. Ja üks nendest kasutab siis Estonian Spiriti poolt toodetud piiritust ja teine teeb ise. Nad mõlemad on küll üsna väiksed nagu turu mõttes tootjad. Ja kui me räägime Eesti nagu suurtootjatest kange alkoholimaastikul, siis nemad ei kasuta Estonian vodkat. Ja tegelikult seoses selle tähise kaitsmisega oli ka tooteid, mis vajasid siis nii-öelda imidži muutust. Et kuna varasemalt nende peal oli siis Estonian vodka või Eesti viin või midagi taolist, et siis tootjad olid sunnitud selle märgistuse ära muutma. Jah, nagu Euroopa esindaja mainis, et kaitstud on ka tõlked, et kuigi nii-öelda Eesti viin ei tohiks selle toote peale kirjutada, sest kaitstud on Estonian vodka, siis ei tohi ka seda kanda seda Eesti viina siis teised tooted, mis sellele spetsifikatsioonile ei vasta. Aga saab käänata seda varianti küll, et vodka from Estonia või vodka made in Estonia või et neid variante on, mis siis enam ei ole nagu selle nii-öelda tähise kaitsega seotud. Ja.
Küsimus oli, ma esitasin ka Euroopa esindajale just selle maitseomaduste poolest, et mida te arvate, et kas kui võtta pime testimine ja 10 keskmist Eesti inimest, et kas tema tunneks ära, et mis on siis see Estonian vodka just maitseomaduste poolest?
See on keeruline küsimus ühelt poolt. Üks asi, et oleneb, mis sinna kõrvale panna, sest kui me mõtleme viinade peale, siis kõige levinum tooraine, millest viina tehakse, on nisu. Nisu on tuntud oma maheda maitse poolest ja sellepärast ka sellest väga palju viina tehakse. Nüüd meie kasutame nisu üsna vähe ja põhiliselt teeme viina rukkist. Et kui on nii-öelda üks meie toode ja selle kõrval on hulk nisuviinasid, siis tarbija kindlasti tunneb selle ära, sest rukkis annab teistsuguse siis maitse, on selline natuke vürtsikam, julgem, täidlasem. Kartuliviinasid meil väga turul ei ole. Ajalooliselt lihtsalt on kartul olnud oluline tooraine nagu viina pool ja sellepärast võiks iseenesest teha ka kartulist. Meil ei ole tehnoloogiliselt see võimalik. Ja kartuliviinasid Eesti turul väga ei ole ka, kuigi Poolas neid ikkagi tehakse. Et on üksikud näited ainult, mis on nagu Eestis saadaval kaubanduses kartuliviina. Nii et selles mõttes võib olla küll, et on tavatarbija jaoks ära tuntav, kui nüüd, ma ei tea, võtta sinna kõrvale mõni Baltikumi või Poola rukkiviin, et siis ma ei oska kommenteerida, ma ei ole seda niimoodi kõrvuti ise proovinud, et oleks huvitav katse tegelikult, jah. Aitäh!
Kunagi ma küsisin Liiviga tuntud teatehnoloogist, et mis on siis nagu, mis määrab selle viina maitse, ta ütles, et me küsime kas vesi või piiritus, ta ütles, et ei, et meeleolu, seltskond ja muud asjad, et määrab selle viina maitse. See oli autorrekords.
Nii, aga aitäh kõigile vastupidamise eest, et sellega me nüüd saame joone alla tõmmata põllumajandusliku päritolu geograafiliste tähiste teemaplokile. Ja mida siit pole peamiselt kaasa võtta, et meie ministeeriumis näeme, et on suur ja lai tööpõld, mis puudutab tarbijate harimist ja tarbijate teadlikkuse tõstmist ühelt poolt. Teiselt poolt me kindlasti julgustame endiselt kõiki tootjaid eelnevalt konsulteerima meiega, samuti ka Põllumajandus- ja Toiduametiga, et üheskoos kindlasti läheb see protsess kiiremini. Et nagu Euroopa Komisjoni esindaja siin ka välja tõi, et tegelikult Euroopa Komisjon on seda protsessi reforminud ja nüüd peaks see protsess natukene kiiremini käima, kuigi tõsi ta on, et siiski ma arvan, et aastake poolteist ikkagi tuleks arvestada, kui selline teekond ette võtta. Ja mida me omalt poolt oleme ka tootjatele loonud, et siin käis läbi, et ühise põllumajanduspoliitika raames, et meil on strateegiakava alusel ka toetusmeede tootjarühmadele, tõsi, mitte üksikule ettevõtjale, et kui geograafiline tähis juba on registreeritud, siis tõepoolest on see selline vahend, mis aitab tarbijate teadlikkust tõsta ja kindlasti ka ministeeriumi enda poolt me sellega tegeleme, et teemale siin rohkem tähelepanu juhime, ja kui on ettevõtjaid, kes oleksid huvitatud meie käest ka saama igakuiselt ülevaadet nende taotluste kohta, mis avaldatakse teistes liikmesriikides, et siis kindlasti meile teada anda, et täna me edastame seda infot Eesti Toiduainetööstuse Liidu liikmetele ja Eesti Põllumajandus-Kaubanduskoja kaudu siis ettevõtjatele, et nad oleksid kursis ja meie eesmärk tõesti on seda teadlikkust tõsta. Aga siis, kuna oleme nüüd ikkagi lõpuks läinud 5 minutit ajakavast üle ja kõik ootavad lõunat, et siis veel kord paar korralduslikku tähelepanekut, et esiteks nõudega palutakse siis saali mitte tulla ega minna ka siis kohvikualale, et siis jääksime siia foajeesse. Ja täiendavalt, et kui te naudite lõunat, siis väljas on ka käsitöönduslike ja tööstuslike geograafiliste tähiste näitus, mis on fotode kujul küll teistest liikmesriikidest, et saate inspiratsiooni ammutada, et kuidas siis oleks võimalik Eesti ettevõtjatel ka teise teemaploki teemadeks siis valmistuda ja vaadata siis, kuidas see süsteem hakkab käima tööstuslike ja käsitöönduslike geograafiliste tähiste puhul. Nii et ootame kõiki tagasi saali 13.30 ja anname siis omalt poolt teatepulga üle Patendiametile. Aitäh!